Well, today we're not gonna be working outside. We're not gonna be on the farm or in my kitchen. We're gonna be in someone else's kitchen, and very specifically, a really fun company. I happen to be traveling. I'm out on Long Island, on the east end of Long Island, and I met these amazing people that are creating a pasta company from Family Recipes. You know I use Family Recipes. You know I love my grandmas. Guess what? They use their grandma's recipes. And in talking with them, I thought it'd be such a fun way to kind of showcase something that I think is exciting, using local ingredients to make really amazing pasta, both fresh, dried. You know, this is something that I don't know a lot about. In my tradition of growing up, we made some egg noodles. That was maybe a treat, but true pasta with good ingredients, we didn't do that a lot. I find things like this so fun, so I'm excited to bring you along, show you what's going on. So let's go meet them. So today we're at Lisa Lena, and we're in the kitchen with Dylan and Sean. And what I love about this is we're not just in any type of like startup business. We're in one that actually makes a lot of sense to me. When I use Family Recipes, I use recipes from my grandma. They do a lot the same. So I kind of want to introduce what Lisa Lena is, why you started it, and what kind of that track was for you, especially coming from Family Recipes. Not necessarily growing up thinking you're gonna start a food business.
So I'm Dylan, this is my brother Sean. Our grandparents were Italian immigrants. Food was everything, food culture was everything, cooking pasta particularly. Every time we were together, there was a lot of fresh pasta production happening. And it was a very beautiful experience, especially I think growing up for us in the 90s and like hyper-processed like American food culture at the time. To go spend time with our grandparents, and everything that we ate that night was something that we were picking from their vegetable garden, preparing, cooking beforehand. So very beautiful, a lot of early memories tied to that.
I always feel like I learned the most about my family while we were sitting around. For me, it was like canning and preserving maybe. For you, like making pasta or eating that as a family, is that where you felt like that connection and learning about the recipes, your culture, whatever it is that where that happened for you?
Yeah, I think even to this day, I mean, the kitchen is just like the centerpiece of our house. It is like the social gathering space.
Right.
So, yeah, that's nothing's changed on that front.
So this is a COVID business really, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like a few years ago, we were all in lockdown. We were all either losing jobs, not sure on jobs, uncertainty. So I'm curious how this maybe came out of that too.
Sean is also a musician. I was working in restaurants. Obviously, COVID kind of halted both of our work worlds. We were in the house cooking a lot, but also making a lot of pasta. And we're very lucky to have some very beautiful farms in our community here who farm grain and grow really beautiful varieties of super flavorful wheat, which we get to use in our pasta. Sean is very familiar with the grain that we use because he worked with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was sort of when both of us got more connected to our local agriculture scene out here. I mean, baking bread out here, meeting all the farmers, you know, every week picking up flour. And that at least was a notable shift for me, and just you know, an awareness of a lot of beautiful farms that grow sustainably, organically, obviously. That was like a big shift for me personally, working out here as a baker and getting to know the local field.
Today we're gonna be making, as I'm told, pasta. So tell us what we're gonna be making.
We're gonna be making a shape called radiatori, which I can show you here, the die that we use for it. Radiatori is a very fun shape, much more common in Italy than here. It means radiators in Italian.
For pasta makers, artisan makers, this is kind of the gold standard?
Absolutely. Bronze dies, they are what you will get the best quality pasta from. It's a very hard surface. It really stresses the dough as it's being extruded, and what that does is create all of these really little and microscopic fissures and tears on the surface of the pasta, which cling to sauce really well.
So you have 3 ingredients going into this?
That's right.
Correct, yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
No egg, no oil.
No.
Which I think most people watching would think, oh, there has to be one of them, but nothing. It's literally our flours and water. They're using a local grown and milled flour. That's really the basis though of your business, and what makes you different in a way is the ingredients you're putting in.
If you put the best ingredients in, you are going to get the best product and food out. That really starts with farming. Amber Waves and Balsam Farms is another farm we work with. We are very, very lucky to work with them because they have a beautiful philosophy of farming for flavor. They treat their soil really well, they treat their land really well. So this is a really beautiful red wheat that we get to work with. It's actually won baking competitions for flavor. That was their intention, that they were going to grow the most flavorful grain.
You know, if you're gonna be baking traditionally anything, we're gonna use usually a white all-purpose flour. This is completely different in the sense that you see the variations, you see more of that whole grain, but then you like the mix going with some semolina, which is much more traditional. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is an ancient variety, heirloom variety from Sicily, also stone milled over there.
So show me the process.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. So we're gonna basically weigh out our flour and then we're going to hydrate it and we're gonna mix it in our big stand mixer here. We hydrate the dough to about 30 to 33% water content, which is a lot lower than hand-formed, hand-rolled pastas.
Okay.
Generally, those are around 50% hydration.
Okay.
The difference really being the machine that we use, which is a bronze extruder, it builds up a lot of pressure as it's
doesn't
being
need
extruded,
the
which
extra, yeah.
really binds it. This is also why we don't need oil in there, don't need
Okay.
egg in there.
Okay.
All of the pressure kind of forms the shape together.
We have the flour in the mixer, and now all we do is add the water.
Yeah.
And do you care about the temperature even of your water that's going in?
We typically use cool to room temperature water.
Okay.
Cooler the better, I would say.
We just started on a low speed to sort of get our two grains
Mixed together.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll start hydrating it in a moment.
When I've seen extruders, and I see up here that they do have a bin that
Yeah.
you never mix though your ingredients within this.
You can. I mean, that's what this is for. You can, certainly
You're
mix.
just doing bigger quantities probably.
For what we're doing, when we're in here, we'll do, 3 or 4, maybe 5.
So how much will you churn out on a work day?
Really kind of depends on the day and the week, but I would say on average about 150 to 200 pounds in a day.
Just fresh pasta.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So it's a lot of,
That's a lot of pasta.
yeah, it's a lot of pasta.
So the flours are mixed together, and now you're just adding, and everything was by weight. You're now adding the water in, and you're gonna now get it to the point where you feel you're comfortable with it going into the extruder, I assume.
So we're really looking for the consistency of
Okay.
it. So you won't see a dough like you would
Form.
for bread baking
Right,
or
okay.
even fresh pasta with like egg noodles.
Would you say it becomes more of like a pastry before you put a liquid into it, like after you've worked
Yes.
kind of that? Okay.
Yes. The consistency we're kind of looking for is like wet sand.
Okay.
And we'll show you it should kind of come together in your fist and
then
be
break
easily
apart.
broken
Okay.
apart.
Sort of a nice benefit of the bronze die as well is that it can handle a much sort of looser dough with so much
And
pressure.
still create the noodle. Okay.
We typically like to mix it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Just make sure all of it's hydrated.
So it looks like this is done. Now I'm at the moment shocked that this looks much drier than I would have thought. Like again, I have made pasta at home. It is an egg-based pasta. And so
Right.
you make a ball of dough, let it rest 30 minutes. This is not a ball of dough.
No.
So explain what you look for and what I'm surprised that I'm seeing.
Well, we're lucky to have such a beautiful machine, bronze die extrusion, obviously. So a lot of the binding is actually going to happen.
So
in the
this is
machine.
possible because of.
That's right. And when you're at home and you're cutting it by hand, generally you're using egg or higher hydration. For this, what we're really looking for is sort of this loose, kind of crumbly dough. And what we want is we want to be able to squeeze it together and just so we can see that it's binding.
Oh,
and
that's
then it should be able to
interesting.
break apart
Yeah.
pretty easily.
That's usually what I say to get to on a pie dough or a pastry
Right.
dough. Before though, then keep it going. This is done. That's actually.
Yeah. So we're going to load it on into the machine now.
Once it's in here, what happens?
So we're just going to mix it for a moment.
Oh, that's much more quiet than I would have thought.
Yeah, right?
So it looks like it's coming out now. I at first was confused, but then you attached. So this is to make it easier on you so you don't have to sit here and try to
Right.
cut pieces.
Yes.
There's an actual blade that's going around. How long does a bronze plate last? Do you have years with it? Do
You have years with it.
You do, okay.
Depends on use. We are obviously pretty small scale pasta production.
Sure.
So we will get several years out of
Okay.
it. Some of the larger producers in the region around Naples, particularly Gragnano, which is the pasta capital
Right.
of the world, they will go through bronze dies on a several months per die basis, just because heat, wear, tear, but we'll get a couple years out of them.
Now I notice there's a fan underneath a perforated basket that's holding the pasta that's coming out. So what is that instantly doing?
So it's wicking away a lot of the surface moisture.
So they don't stick together? Is that kind of the...
Absolutely.
Okay.
And also, so it will cool the pasta a little bit as it's coming out of the machine, because one thing that this bronze die will do is it'll get pretty hot from the friction. So the fan will cool the pasta, and we also have this water circulator, which will circulate cold water and cool the die. So we like to keep it nice and cool.
So when you make fresh pasta like this, I would assume a couple minutes for cooking, and then you're ready to go, and that's it?
Yeah. Sometimes less than a minute, depending on the shape.
Really?
Yeah. We do a long shape called mafalde, which is this, it's almost like a tagliatelle with fluted edges to it. Which is super delicate, and that's almost like you drop it in the water and you get it right out.
So I think some people would be surprised at the color coming out. Again, if we're gonna go buy box pasta at our local grocery store, you maybe would see a whole grain, but otherwise, is the color for you something that was just a byproduct of your inputs, or is that something that was more important to you?
Very central to what we do is the local grain. Color, I think, is just a nice benefit we get as well, because it's beautiful.
Well, and it makes you stop and ask questions, I think, which is important too, to know why is this different, what's better about it, what makes it different. I mean, in my head, that's kind of a great way even to know artisan, hopefully. It's not a marketing ploy, it's an actual input, which is a huge difference on good quality things like this. So you have to really actually manually watch that speed and know the size pasta you want.
Exactly. I mean, once you get it set, you can kind of look away for a little while, but I mean, again, it's moving pretty quickly, so.
Also, when we circulate the water, it tends to run a little bit quicker.
So this is the last of a few of these trays, and you usually let them sit for
about 10-15 minutes in the fridge.
And then want to package them up quickly to preserve that fresh texture.
Absolutely.
Now, I was asking if you can you try it at this point?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay, because to me that's, you don't get to try a fresh pasta a lot. So what do you look for? Just since you're the experts here, what do you look for in a good pasta? Like what right now are you noticing that you would say is, this is good, other than it tastes really good?
We want to make sure that we can really taste the grain in there, which we always can. It's a really
The
flavorful
grain itself.
grain.
Okay.
The grain itself. And then really just texture. So these are pretty great for us. And you can kind of see, like, I don't know if you can see the texture that the bronze will create on them, but then also like the toothiness to them. You definitely want, you want to be able to like sink your teeth into it. And that comes down to like the temperature of the die, which will regulate with that water circulator. So these are pretty perfect for us.
So in two pasta makers' opinion, you're getting fresh pasta that was made with care, good ingredients. For you at home, what is the best way to enjoy it? To showcase the pasta.
First and foremost, if you go to like one of the farms here, farm stands, whatever is good right now, grab it. There's some beautiful zucchini happening right now. There's some nice basil happening right now. This shape particularly with a pesto
because the ridges will grab on and just
like traps all of that. It's also really good with just like high quality extra virgin olive oil and good sea salt.
For you, when you get home, your first thing isn't, let's just say you're gonna have pasta, isn't what type of heavy sauce can I make?
I'd say, generally speaking, the way that we cook, the way our family taught us to cook is definitely on the lighter side, more delicate. Anything that's like a little bit too heavy, obviously like seasonally dependent, that'll change, but like tomato sauces we tend to make very, very light and simply. Just good olive oil, good garlic, good tomatoes, that's enough.
If someone would want to, can you get this anywhere other than East End nationwide, anywhere else that you can get your pasta?
For sure. So Nationwide, we ship via our website, which
Okay.
is lizolinapasta.com. We're a bunch of places out here in the Hamptons on the east end of Long Island. In the city, in the tri-state New York area, so New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, we are available on Fresh Direct. So if you ever grocery shop with them, you can get it 7 days a week to your door.
Thank you guys for letting me in
Thank
here. I'm
you.
sure it's
Thank
not
you.
like a normal thing to have people come in, and actually my excitement comes from seeing other people's stories, seeing family connections, which for me, I think we often forget or we lose this family connection, and maybe it didn't even come till later in life, but that's really now to me exciting to see that from your grandma to now you're creating a business, which I can only imagine makes your grandma,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
She
that is
loves
just
it.
something to her that is amazing to think
Yeah.
that could actually become something bigger.
Absolutely.
And be
Th-
passed
thank you,
on.
Nonna.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of credit. Yeah.
Thank you for letting me come in.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for following. Lisa Lena has been such a fun experience to, one, just see a process that my meager hands at home would have never done. I've played with semolina, but it has never turned out like this. And it's because there's a craft and art to it that I think we so often don't understand. So I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. As always, if you enjoy it, share it around so other people can find out about something new too, because that's half the excitement. So until next time, I'm gonna be eating pasta and enjoying the process.